Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto Naruto Next Generations discussion. And today, we gotta discuss the major ramifications of what Boruto Chapter 45 presented to us, from the confirmation of the Otsutsuki god actually existing and the insane levels of power that he possesses that makes him downright busted. We've heard the complaints since the war arc that the power scaling in Naruto is broken and they gotten even louder in Boruto, but this is going to top the cake in terms of busted, since we have to address how Boruto has hit the point of no return. At this point, Boruto villains are so overpowered, they're gonna need Denki to build a ninja weapon tech mech for them to fight against the Otsutsuki clan, and good training for them to prepare for these battles ahead would be to download Mech Arena, which is going to be the sponsor of today's video. Mech Arena is an incredibly fun PvP shooter for mobile and for PC, where your mech is placed on a team of other mechs inside a massive arena where you not only hunt down other opposing players, but you can also capture bases in a really cool mech version of Capture the Flag. Install Mech Arena on mobile or PC. Just use my personal link in the description box or scan the QR code and get a free starter pack worth $15 to help kickstart your game. And if you're quick, you can add me onto your friends list and we can play some matches together on mobile or PC, which of course I'll be the one that's called Lady 1010 because we got to keep the meme alive. I think we all can agree right now, Boruto's introduced an in-game level threat in the form of Shibai Otsutsuki, and narratively, it makes sense that we're headed there. We started out Boruto's story narratively with the implication that we were dealing with people in the form of Momoshiki and Kinshiki, who Kaguya directly wrote down by name in the manga version of the story as people who she feared and built an army to oppose. Then we escalated in power in terms of the KRYPTONIans, beings who had Amado's nanotech, which was combined with Hashirama cells and Konoha's bionic ninja tech to produce fighters like Delta, who were able to keep up with a suppressed 6-pass chakra mode Naruto. Then after the Jigen fight, where Naruto and Sasuke got utterly demolished, we learned that Ishiki was even stronger than Jigen, and it took Baryon mode for Naruto to even have a chance in that battle before ultimately the form began to lose power and Ishiki stomped him out of the form. The Boruto story post Ishiki battle had us in a funky situation where we had threat levels that were stronger than Jigen, but they were weaker than Ishiki in the form of Code, Ada, and Damon. But given Boruto is a gateway shonen, we all knew that at some point Ishiki and Baryon mode would be surpassed, and that moment is now here for this battle shonen story. However, here's why narratively this actually works and it makes a lot of sense. Shibai Otsutsuki is being positioned as a clear in-game threat or near in-game threat level because his power is far above anything we've ever seen before. Given how insanely powerful characters in Boruto have gotten, it made perfect sense that if we do go beyond Ishiki and Baryon mode levels, we have to go well beyond Ishiki and Baryon mode to a point where it doesn't just break the ceiling of the power scaling itself, but instead it shatters it and it forces us to rebuild that ceiling based off of this new information that we have. Getting this intel before Boruto heads into a time skip is very important because it gives multiple goals to those members of the main cast to strive for. Sarda and Mitsuki will obviously have Kawaki as a benchmark for a level of power that they're going to need to keep pace with in order to be considered strong enough to stand beside Boruto and not be considered dead weight. Boruto, on the other hand, just had his benchmark move from being strong enough to fight against Code, who Naruto and Sasuke right now still think since he's stronger than Jigen, Boruto's not going to be strong enough to fight a beyond Jigen level threat right now. Boruto's benchmark has now been raised to knowing that Code isn't going to be enough. Similar to how as we were transitioning into part 2 of Naruto, before we got to part 2, it became clear that getting strong enough to defeat Orochimaru wasn't enough because there were people in the Akatsuki much stronger than Orochimaru. Here's the thing, Boruto's gonna have to learn more about Shinjutsu, i.e. divine jutsu, and he's going to have to go through some hardcore training and fully embrace that newly 100% Otsutsuki genetics running through his body if he's gonna hope to accomplish his goal. As a future Shadow Hokage, it's his duty to protect the village from afar, eliminating threats before it reaches the Hokage, and if it does reach the Hokage, it's his duty to stand beside the Hokage to provide an equal amount of support and forceful power in order to aid the Hokage in defeating the enemy, and at times even taking charge in ways that the Hokage can't. Any thoughts that Boruto had to just become strong enough to defend against Code, or a Code level threat, or even an Ishiki level threat, since that's a power that Boruto's seen firsthand. He knows now that being strong enough for a threat of that size is not going to be enough in the future. Boruto's manga has also dropped the line that Momoshiki has extensive knowledge of all things Shinjutsu, which is why he told Boruto not everything Amado said about Ada's powers was actually true, because some of her abilities he said were not Shinjutsu, but the important thing here is that Momoshiki is aware. The reason why this is so important and why it fits into the narrative of remaking the power ceiling in the Boruto world is due to how karma itself works. Once Boruto truly masters the karma seal, he gains access to all the knowledge that Momoshiki acquired in a combat sense. This, by extension, would include Shinjutsu. We don't know if Momoshiki knows Shinjutsu, but we do know that the way he uses the Byakugan to see the future, though by his own words he can't see his own future, it is a sign that the Byakugan's true power might very well hold divine jutsu access. Boruto exploring more of the divine arts, whether it be learning about them in the same way that the third Hokage made it a point to learn every jutsu in Konoha, every fighting style in the village, and even when he wasn't able to physically perform the jutsu, he still understood it, and understanding is a major component for a shinobi of the caliber that Boruto hopes to become. Him being 100% Otsutsuki right now, it opens up the door to potentially mastering some of that divine jutsu, since we can gather a few things now we have this information. Ishiki's dojutsu powers were a form of divine jutsu according to Amado, which by extension means that Momoshiki's ability to see into the future is a divine power as well. But so far there's nothing that says that Otsutsuki can't learn multiple divine powers, even if they haven't consumed enough chakra fruits to attain god status. Ishiki's dojutsu had multiple abilities, from shrinking himself, shrinking objects, summoning chakra cubes, storing objects, and jutsu in another dimension to summon at a later date. Amado said that he transplanted the abilities of Ada, Damon, and Code from the DNA of Shibai Otsutsuki, meaning that Shibai had multiple powers. And we learned there were more divine powers like screaming to make thunderstorms and to make natural disasters at ease, which, as a side note, that's another Buddhism reference that we can get into in another video. But here's the thing though, to stay on topic. You don't drop a power like this casually into the narrative if we are never going to see it at some point. Similar to how Kishimoto began to name drop the Sage of Six Paths in Naruto's manga just over 1/3 of the way through the manga, and have been planting seeds subconsciously in our mind to make us recognize his existence long before we saw the silhouette of the Sage of Six Paths for the first time. It took almost 10 years before we got payoff about the Sage of Six Paths in manga format. Watching Boruto work his way from the card tier to the Ten Tails tier to the Jigen tier, and eventually beyond that Ishiki and Baryon tier to start knocking on god status, eliminating the threats in the form of Code and whatever happens with Kawaki, is all meant to set the stage for that final clash with a being who managed to transcend beyond this world into another dimension. As I brought up on the channel a few days ago, Boruto appears to be poised to take the path of Samurai 8, where we had a character who was basically on the same tier of Shibai Otsutsuki in terms of power and hacks and what he represents. And given what Shibai represents, both in the sense of transcending beyond the cycle of Samsara, as well as what a subscriber wrote on the video that I mentioned earlier, Shibai is likely inspired by Mara, the final enemy of Bodhisattva, and Buddha, which again leads itself to this being an in-game level threat. Talk no Jutsu likely will be in Boruto's arsenal, especially when we consider the Buddhism behind this. But just as we saw with Naruto, there came a time where talking would not get through to the person he had his final fight with, and we saw that Naruto had to use force in order to be able to talk, though it came with Naruto losing his arm in the process. Boruto with Shibai is likely going to have to use some form of divine jutsu in an offensive manner to be able to fight Shibai Otsutsuki, which is all the more reason why I do think it is possible we see some type of training. That being said, I'm curious to know you guys' thoughts on this. Do you guys agree that the stage is being potentially set for Boruto to learn divine jutsu for what is likely an in-game battle for the series? How do you feel about Shibai Otsutsuki basically changing the balance and power in the Naruto world as we know it? While you think that over, click here to watch this KRYPTONIAN SAIYAN video, or click here to watch this Naruto Explain video.